have a question for you. Tacos or ice cream? It's a very serious question. I can't even say it with a serious face. It's a very serious question. This is going to be a life-altering question. Tacos or ice cream? Which would you choose? You can only choose one. Which will it be? or I've got another serious question. Coffee or tea? Or neither? Dun, dun, dun. I don't know. Life is full of questions, though. Have you noticed? Every question leads to something else or another big question, and then you have those life-altering questions where you know the question or where you know the answer is going to be just life-altering. I mean, the direction of your life is largely unknown, and that can be scary. What if you're making the wrong decision? What if you're not going where God is leading you? But we're going to be looking at people who had questions about where God was leading them. And they didn't get their questions answered by God directly. We're going to be looking, starting out with me. I graduated college. A young whippersnapper Kristen was super happy. It was a big achievement for me. And now I needed a job. That's normal, getting a job after college, except I had no idea where I wanted to go. I hadn't lined anything up, so I was kind of just graduated, and then that was about it. Figuring out where I wanted to work and what I wanted to do with my life, there were a lot of questions that I had. I really wanted God to be like, Kristen, go that way. But he did not do that. That is not what happened. It wasn't easy to determine what path I should take. I wanted so badly for God to tell me, but that didn't happen in the way that I thought it would. The next person we're going to be looking at is Esther. So we're going to pause my story, and then we're going to come back to it. I want to introduce you to Esther, just to give a backdrop of the book of Esther. We've got the Jews who are living in Persia, okay? And in this book, I want to highlight the main characters. We have two Jews, Mordecai and his niece, Esther, the king of Persia, and then a Persian official named Haman. Haman. The book opens up with King Xerxes. He's putting on this elaborate banquet to display his grandiose and splendor, and it was a really, really long party. So at the end of this really, really long party, he was drunk. Like, he was not making the best decisions in life. So he asked his wife, who was very pretty at the time. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that she was. They say that she was gorgeous. He wanted her to come and parade her beauty in front of all his guests. And she said, no. So he deposed her and kicked her out of the palace. And then the king wanted to look for a new queen who would be way more prettier than the old one. It's crazy. He puts on this weird version of this beauty pageant, and this is where Esther shows up. She wins. It's so strange. I know being queen would be really awesome. Let's just be real. But the king didn't really have the best track record with his wives, if you know what I'm saying. Okay. So the king is obsessed with Esther. So she wins. She becomes queen. Whoop, whoop. In chapter 3, we're introduced to Haman. I want to be like, there should be music around here. Da, da, da. Okay, Haman holds up the highest position in Persia, all right, other than the king. So he demands that everyone bow down or kneel when he passes by. I think Haman has a little bit of a big head. That's just my opinion. We see him pass by Mordecai, and Mordecai refuses to kneel down. Oh man, this got Haman so mad. He became really obsessed with Mordecai and became really angry, and he wanted to make Mordecai pay. He wanted revenge, all right? He wanted Mordecai to suffer. I told you, Haman is whack. He's crazy. Haman figured out that Mordecai was a Jew. Now, Esther and Mordecai had kind of kept that part of their lives a secret. So when Haman figured out that Mordecai was a Jew, not good. Haman went to the king. He proposed this special decree, which the king thought was awesome, that all the Jews would die on this date. I told you, Haman was really crazy. He knew that to strike Mordecai where it would hurt the hardest was for Mordecai to witness his whole people to be destroyed, to be killed. So, in chapter 4, we look at Mordecai and Esther. I mean, Mordecai is distressed. He is praying, he is fasting. And Esther, she's worried and she's confused. She is a Jew. So you can tell, like, this is a very tense moment for her. The king doesn't know. She goes to Mordecai for advice. I mean, what else is she going to do? Mordecai tells her that she needs to reveal her identity to the king. Fun fact about Persian law, if you enter the court and try to approach the king without making a request first, it's an act worthy of death, even for the queen. But she makes the decision to go and approach him. In chapter 4, verse 16, she ends with, if I perish, I perish. Esther made such a hard and difficult decision in a time of uncertainty. She saved the lives of her people, the Jews. But there's something interesting about this story. God is never mentioned in this whole book, not once. You can check it. I mean, I'm always for that. But in the whole book of Esther, God's name is not mentioned, but that does not mean he is not there, because you can see him working actively, okay? Now, when she was deciding what to do, who did Esther go to? She went to Mordecai. She sought the advice from a godly person. Our main point for today is godly people can help us with our questions. When we're experiencing confusion, uncertainty, fear, it's really easy for us to question what we're supposed to do next and why God isn't making our path clear. Scripture never promises that God will directly tell us what to do next. But the story of Esther, it shows us that we need godly people to help us figure this out sometimes. So, how do we make decisions? We trust on those godly counsel that we put around us. Godly people can help us make decisions. To end my story that I was telling you, looking for the job, I was attending a VBS training conference at Ridgecrest. For those of you who don't know, Ridgecrest is where we go for Fuge, and it's just amazing. But I was there. I think I have a picture of it. Here it is. I was there and it was a cowboy themed Saddle Ridge Ranch. It was a cowboy themed VBS. Well, the auditorium, the soundboard is right on the main floor. So you get to walk right by it when you go to your seats. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I told my family, I was like, I want to do this job. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to make a career out of. This would be so much fun. My older sister, Bethany, she said, you need to go talk to them. And I said, no. It was very funny. I love her. She physically grabbed me and dragged me over to the sound booth. And then she started the conversation with the techs. Been like, oh, hi, how you doing? You guys did such a great job. She's really good at this. I'm doing her justice, okay? And then, oh, have you met my sister, Kristen? She just graduated from college with an audio degree. It's so cool. And I go, it was so awkward. But that was the best decision that I ever did. Because she started talking, I decided, all right, if she can talk to these strangers and just start a conversation, what's the worst that could happen? So I did, and I got a conversation going, and I was talking to the bigwig leader of CentriKid Camps, and he got me a job as a technician. It was amazing. I loved it. I could have worked for so many different places though, but I believe that the godly people in my life helped me make the best decision I could have. We've talked about before how important godly friendships are in our lives, but that's not the only kind of support system we need. We need like a network of godly people to help us when we're uncertain or trying to make sense of what we should do next. So let's think about this for just a sec. We need people as our support network. So first, we need to find a supporter. Who do you go to when you need a dose of encouragement and positivity? Who can you always trust to give you a pep talk? A counselor who always gives you great advice. When you're in a dilemma, have questions, or don't know how to move forward, who do you trust to help you take the next step? A coach who can always motivate you to keep you making progress on your goals. A mentor who is an older person who has an ongoing relationship with you, who makes you better and who you trust enough to share details of your life with. A teacher who is guiding and advising you in your faith, helping you develop a deeper relationship with God. A confidant. Who would you trust with your deepest secrets? This should be someone who is safe, trusted, and wise. And prayer support. This could be one person or a group of people who you can always trust to pray for you. Now, these people are not going to guarantee us the right decision to make. We need to rely on God. That's why we need to keep our relationship with God, be active in our relationship with God by reading His Word and by seeking Him. That God puts godly people in our lives for a purpose. Now, we've covered a lot of things in this series. Having doubts and questions, it's normal because you're not alone in your questions. God doesn't shame us for our questions, but He gives us the evidence we need in order to believe. And then especially when life gets painful and disappointing things happen, our questions don't always get answered, but God is in the midst of all of it. And when we're questioning or doubting where God is leading us, God knows. Godly people can help us with our questions. They give us the support system that we need. As we close out this series, I hope that you will take away these main things. I hope that you're not afraid of your questions or doubts, because God can handle them. So don't be afraid to ask Him. But also know that sometimes He may not answer you in the way that you might expect. I hope that you feel safe enough to voice your questions and your doubts here, either with me or with your small group leader, or with one person that you trust, that confidant. Then when you have doubts or questions, reach out to somebody. Use your support network because they're here for you. Thank you guys for joining me. If you are going to join us in our small groups, make sure you check your phones for the invite. I love you guys. See ya.